So before we jump into anything, we're going to be looking at depreciation today. That's this word over here. Can anyone tell me what depreciation is in sort of simple words? And like, give me an example. Yeah, well, yes. Okay, losing value. It's losing value. Who can think of an example that we all use all the time, that you see every day, and is an example of something that depreciates? Yeah, exactly. Laika, well, look at you coming back. Yay, back in the chats. I'm excited. Exactly. Oh, yeah. Yes, exactly. Cars. So that's why people say that cars are not an investment, because an investment is something that would grow in value over time. And a car is something that as soon as you drive it and it's not new, it depreciates over time. Obviously, there are exceptions, like those very special old valuable cars, but in general, cars are something that depreciate quickly. Can you think of something else? Something else that depreciates? Any example? Doesn't have to be fancy. Yeah, equipment. Exactly. Like if I was a farmer and I had a tractor, my tractor would depreciate over time. It's okay. Don't worry. And pretty much anything that you use, like if you have a computer or if you have a cell phone, as soon as you start using it, it depreciates over time. It starts losing value. So that's all it's meaning. It means it's losing value. Now, when we use depreciation, we have it in two streams, the same way that we have inflation and the way that things grow with compound. We have a straight line basis, which is where we use our simple interest formula. And our simple interest formula looks like this. If I'm going to be doing depreciation, so I'm not going to be increasing value, how do you think I'm going to change that formula for it to be depreciation on a straight line basis? So most of that formula is going to stay exactly the same. One thing is going to change. Yes, Uya. Uya, are you one of my accounting people, or have you done financial maths in school? You are on the ball. This little dude, when we're talking about that plus, when we're talking about compound interest, that is saying we're adding as it's going on. So in depreciation, that just becomes a minus. So on a straight line basis, our formula is exactly the same. Oh, and then I go writing a plus, but instead of a plus, we have a minus. Ah, my accounting. Okay. So if we have a look at this question, Carl buys a computer and it costs 25,000 Rand. Calculate its book value after 3 years if the depreciation is 10% per annum on a straight line basis. Okay, so we're trying to figure out what its book value is going to be after the 3 years. What's that going to be? Is this going to be an A or a P, that 25,000? Nice, good. So the reason it's a P is because that's what the value is now, but in 3 years, it's going to be a different value. And so that end value, the book value, that's my end value. Because that's what it's going to be worth in 3 years' time. So we're essentially asking, if I wanted to sell this computer in 3 years, what could I sell it for if it was depreciating at this rate? So we have, let's write our little grocery list. We don't know A. We know that P is 25,000. We know that I is 10% on a straight line basis. And we know that we are looking at 3 years. And they haven't told us per month or anything. So it's just like that. Oh, careful. Abu, if it's that value, now my computer is worth more after 3 years. And is that the case? Look at you, Laika. You're another one of my little accounting buffs. Absolutely. So, Abu, all you have to do is you put it into the formula, but instead of a plus sign, you just have a minus sign. So we're trying to find out A. We know that P is 25,000. 1 is 1. Then we're going to minus our interest, which is 10%, times 3. And pop that straight into your calculator. And let me know if that doesn't make sense. There we go. Making sense? We're all feeling okay? Pop this into our calculator and we should get 17,500. Now, a good way for you to check is this number should be lower. Because remember, it's depreciating, which means it's losing value. So if our A is bigger than our P, then we know we've made a mistake. So that's like a nice, easy way for us to check. But remember, this is only with depreciation. Okay, so that is looking at depreciation on a straight line basis. If you have any questions, please ask. If you'd like to take a screenshot, please take one. We all good? Okay. So in that case, I'm going to ask you to try the next one. So now we're asking to do it on a reducing balance. And the reducing balance, so the same way that the straight line balance, we use the simple interest formula. When it's a reducing balance, we're going to use our compound formula. So remember, your compound formula looks like this. And now we're doing depreciation. So instead of a plus, we're going to have a minus. So reducing balance is going to just be A equals P 1 minus I to the power of N. Your grocery list is going to stay the same because it's the same question. So pop that in, get your answer. Look at these answers coming through. Love it. And if you have questions, ask. Beautiful. So let's pop that information in. A is equal to 25,000, 1 minus I, which is 10%, to the power of 3. And that gives us the total of 18,225. Okay, if you'd like to take a screenshot, please feel free. I'll do it like that so you've got both. You good? No, but accounting is much more intense than this. This is just like It's like dipping a toe into the shallow end of what accounting is. That's a lie? Is accounting not more intense than this? I always thought accounting was like super tough. Blowing my mind a little bit now. Okay. All right. Next one. I'm only going to help you a little bit with this one because it's the same ideas. Okay. First question. A mining company buys machinery to the value of 4 million rand. They expect to replace the machinery after 4 years. On reducing balance, can your assets ever be worth nothing? It's a question I'm asking you. If we're using a reducing balance, can our asset ever be worth nothing? Can it ever be worth zero? Let's get our accounting buffs to answer for us. So Laika's come in. Where's Uya's answer? And can you explain to us? It's okay, I will go through it. Let's first hear from our accountants though. Let's test them. Okay, we're saying no, book value of an asset can never be zero. Can either of you explain to us why it can never be zero? You're absolutely right. So well done. No, it can never be worth zero. Okay, let's break it down a little bit. When we're talking about reducing balance, which formula did I say it was similar to, except instead of a plus, we had a minus? Is it similar to simple interest or is it similar to compound interest? Compound. Okay. And when we think about compound interest, what makes compound interest different to simple interest? What is compound interest? In like a simple terms. Yeah, the value is being compounded. When I'm using compound interest, it's interest on interest. Because the amount that is my interest is based on the amount beforehand. Remember, so it changes each month. It's not the same amount every month. If I'm looking at my simple interest formula, it's the same amount all the time. If it's compound, it's interest on interest. In the same way, if we're thinking about it in the opposite way, so instead of a plus, we're thinking of a minus, you can always depreciate by a percentage. So it's never going to get to zero. It could get really, really close. It could get to 0,0002 cents, but it can't ever get to zero. So the full answer here is no, because you always depreciate. Oh, I'm not spelling that right. By a percentage. So we're just slowly bringing that value down. Tebogo, we are doing financial maths and we are doing depreciation, which is our last little bit to do in financial maths, so that we can do mixed questions. I might even throw some other random questions that aren't financial maths into our lesson on Thursday. And then we're going to start probability, data handling, and stats next week, Tuesday. Okay. Cool. So question B, what annual rate of depreciation is used if they expect that the machinery will be worth nothing after 4 years? So now we're just assuming, okay, we're assuming we're going to get nothing. We know it can't logically ever get to zero, but we're assuming we won't be able to sell it for anything. How are we going to write out this question? What do these different things mean? What is my A value going to be? What is my P value going to be? That's where we're going to start. Good. A is 0. What is P? P is the 4 million. Okay. I'm just going to move this down so you've got a bit more space because we've now put the 4 million. N. What's our time frame here? Good. 4 years. And I is what we don't know. And we know that we are using our reducing balance. So we know our formula is going to be this one. Which one am I going to put? Am I going to put reducing balance, actually? So what's my formula? What's it going to look like? I have 1 minus. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Pop that in. And see if you can find the interest rate for me. Yes, with nothing over the 4 years. So let's see. We're going to get a whole bunch of different answers coming in here. And then we're going to read our question. Because it's actually a sneaky question. So let's put this in hypothetically. So we've got our 4 million over here. Oh, no. Boop. 0. Then we've got our 4 million over here. We've got 1 minus I, and then we've got to the power of 4. So if we divide that 0 by the 4 million, we're going to get 0. And we're left with 1 minus I. to the power of 4. We can root that, and we're still left with 0. And then if I move that I over, I'll see that it's equal to 1, which is 100%, right? Now, that's going to be problematic, right? So what do you think was the trick in this question? I'm going to zoom out so that you can see the first part, and then tell me if you can think of what the trick is. Everything that you've done on here is exactly what is the normal thought pattern to have done. My question to you is, I'm telling you that B has got a trap in it. And they tried to help you with that trap by A. Because the answer we are looking for is not 100%. So who can find the trap for me? Just give it your best go. Throw out some ideas. Let's see. Maybe someone will hit the bullseye. No, N is definitely going to be 4. No guesses? So, and this was nasty. This was nasty. I'm going to just say it was nasty. In the first question, it was technically given to help you. So the first part was saying, on a reducing balance, can it ever be worth nothing? And we said, no, it can't be worth nothing. It's not possible. So then in the second question, they said, well, it is worth nothing. So if it is worth nothing, and we know that on a reducing balance, it can't be worth nothing, what formula should we be using? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right? How sneaky was that question? So don't worry. This is exactly what I would have also started with, because I would have seen this reducing balance and I would have been like, oh, obviously I must use reducing balance. But they never say that it's done with reducing balance. They just asked you a question in A. Is it possible for it to be worth nothing in reducing balance? And you said no. And then in the second question, they said, well, it is worth nothing. So then our brains need to be like, well, if it is worth nothing, we can't be using reducing balance. We need to be using our straight line one. So then we need to be using this formula. Very sneaky little question. So now can you find me my I? I'm just going to quickly disappear while I turn the light on, but I will be right back. Do not worry, I'm not going anywhere. Ah, there we go. It's a mean question, isn't it? How cross would you have been if you got this in a test or an exam? I would have been furious. I would have not been pleased. Yeah, it's mean. But remember, that's why we do this together, so that you don't make these mistakes in exams. So we just put this information in now. So now it's 0 is equal to our 4 million, 1 minus I, which we don't know, times 4. Again, we're going to have 0 is equal to 1 minus I times 4. Yeah. I'm just going to move my I times 4 onto this side, and that's equal to 1, which means I is equal to 1/4. Therefore, I is equal to 25%. Okay, that was my trick question. Next one. Now they're saying, now the company has decided to use a reducing balance. So hopefully, if you had gotten your 100% over here, and then you read this question, you might have been like, maybe it wasn't a reducing balance in the last question. Maybe. So now the company has decided to use a reducing balance. What would be the annual rate of depreciation if the machinery is worth 750,000 after 4 years? So now try that one for me. So think about what A is, what P is, what N is, what I is, and you know you're using reducing balance. So think about what your formula is and see if you can figure that one out. Oh, okay. We've got two different decimal answers. Oh yeah, my other accountant. Where are my answers?